Hi everybody, Joe here from Shutter Speed Photography. Very nice to see your smiling faces again here on YouTube. So sometimes there's just little things that camera manufacturers can build into a camera that really make just your life so much simpler, and you kind of scratch your head and go, how come this isn't built into every camera? And one of the things that they did with the Nikon Z9 is they built in a function called the framing grid that you can turn on and off as you need. So the framing grid is a little bit different than what you might be used to with Z6 II or Z7 or any of the other cameras. It's not just that kind of checkerboard rule of thirds grid. There's a bunch of different options for all sorts of different photo formats within the camera settings itself that you can toggle on and off. For example, one of the great mysteries of photography to me has always been, why are picture frames 8x10 when the camera doesn't shoot 8x10s? If you enlarged a camera a photo straight out of the camera, it would be 8x12. So that means you have to chop off 2 inches. So an inch from the top, an inch from the bottom, 2 inches from the bottom, 2 inches from the top, however it might be. And if you aren't careful with your framing and actually plan this in advance, you end up beheading the person if you have to cut it down to 8x10 or chopping them off in a weird place. And nobody likes to be beheaded, right? Right. So anyway, I'm going to talk to you about the framing grid. I'm going to show you how to turn it on and the different aspect ratios that it can present to you, so that when you are taking your pictures, if you are planning ahead, you're going to have great success. And this was a tool that you used to have to actually modify your camera, kind of hack and modify your camera to get a display like this. It's now built in into the Z9, so thanks Nikon for that. But before we get into showing you how to turn it on and how it all works, I'd just like to say thank you. I appreciate you being here. If anything in this video helps you out, please help me out by hitting like, subscribe, ring the bell, and of course leave me a comment, because I always try my best to answer most of you, and most of you are always very gracious and like to say hello and say thank you, and I really truly appreciate that. So it's something nice you can do for me, and best of all, it's free. So hey, let's dive into the menu system of the Z9, and I'll show you where to find the framing grid and how to turn it on and the different options that are in there for you. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so we are here in the Nikon Z9 menu, and we are going to scroll on down to the custom settings menu. From there, just go on down to D, shooting and display, and roll on down to D15. There it is, grid type. Okay, so now that you're here, you can toggle this on and off. So it may be by default for you at 3x3, which is a kind of rule of thirds grid, but you could also do a 4x4 if you wanted to. But now this is the one that I really love, 5x4. So what's 5x4? 5x4 is 8x10. So this is the common format that you're going to use for printing your pictures. So, again, if you're printing an 8x10 and you know it's going to be 8x10, you're going to crop to this 5x4 ratio, and you can see how the grid has cut off the right and left sides. So it's showing you exactly what it's going to look like in advance, and you're going to see that in the viewfinder. Also 1x1 handy if you're doing Instagram or something like that uses a square. And then 16x9, so if you're doing a cinema type crop, that's your 16x9 grid. So you're going to see exactly what you're going to get when you crop to 16x9. So these are really, really handy. And in the past, especially for volume photographers, when they knew that they were going to be selling 8x10s, school photographers, you actually had to hack the Nikon cameras to put an overlay in the viewfinder so that you could see this little square and know what the 8x10 photo was going to look like. So part of the problem with this was, like, let's say you were doing portraits and you knew it was going to be 8x10. If you got in too close, you really limited your cropping options. So you really had to know in advance how much you were cutting off. And this really is a huge, lifesaver, so to speak. So let's select 5x4 and then we'll see how it works. Okay, so we're now looking through the viewfinder. You can clearly see the white lines that are on the left and right. And anything to the left and right of those white lines are going to be cropped out if you crop in that 5:4, 8:10 aspect ratio. So this really works really well, especially like I said, if you're doing weddings, portraits, or anything that uses that 8:10 frame size, and you know that you're going to be using that. So fantastic feature. One of the little simple things that just makes life easier. Okay, so now there's another piece of the puzzle to this. Now that you've activated this grid, if you want to see it through the viewfinder, it's going to appear, but if you want to see it on the monitor, you're going to need to scroll down to custom monitor shooting display, and when you select right with the direction pad, you're going to see what's actually in your display, and you may see a bunch of boxes that are checked or not checked, and it's going to be up to you as to what you have set. Now it's a little deceptive because from here you have to click right again, and once you do that, you're going to get all the different options that are for that section. Now I don't necessarily want it on display 1, so that's press of the display button one time is going to show me what I have on my screen. Now if I press the display button a second time, I would like the framing grid to appear. So I'm going to go to display 2. I'm going to select the direction pad right, and I'm going to go down right here to framing grid, and I'm going to check that on. And I'm going to hit menu because I'm done. And now when I go in through my screen here and I'm on the viewfinder, I'm sorry, not the viewfinder, the monitor, I hit display a second time, and there is that grid that we were talking about, right? You can see it there. And so that's a little trick if you want to see it on the back of your monitor, and pretty much that's also the way you customize everything that's on the monitor, but that's a different video. So there you go. Hope that helps you. Okay, folks, so I hope that helps you out. So again, if you're printing 8x10s and you're going to sell them 8x10, 16x20, 36x45, you know you're going to be selling these sizes. Turn that 5x4 grid on. It's really going to help you out. Now, maybe you're not selling them, but if you have an inkjet printer at home, right, you can easily get 8x10 photo paper, and 8x10 frames are a dime a dozen. I mean, you can get them at Target, Walmart, or any of the craft stores. You can pick yourself up a beautiful 8x10 frame. They're inexpensive, and you can print yourself out a nice 8x10 at home on your inkjet printer. But again, if you use that 5x4 grid, you can pre-plan this and have yourself a great portrait. Now, again, there's the other frames in there as well. So you have the 16x9, right? So that's your monitor size. Maybe you're going to do a cityscape and you want something long for the wall, or maybe you just want to do a background for your monitor. 16x9 is the aspect ratio of your monitor. So you have that framing grid, or if you're doing social media, you have the 1x1. And of course you have the rule of thirds and that 4x4 as well. So it's just a nice little feature that's built in that just makes your life easier. Anything that makes your life easier as a photographer, use it. All right, so that's it. I just want to say thanks for watching. I appreciate you, and if anything in this video helped you out, please help me out by hitting subscribe. If you have a comment or a question, please leave them below, because I really appreciate it when people say hi, and I generally always like to say hi back. So thanks for watching, YouTube. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.